Joining me now on set is Jeff Moon. He served as the Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for China and is currently an international trade consultant. So, Jeff, walk us through the hearings that got underway today. 6 days of hearings, more than 300 people expected to speak, representing multiple U.S. companies. What are some of the expectations, and what are you looking to see come out of this?
Well, there are going to be some 300 or 400 witnesses there. This is an opportunity for these folks to speak directly to the government. I think the number of witnesses and the length of the hearings reflects the lack of consultation with those individuals and the failure to take into account their input. So the administration has talked about how we are winning the trade war and how trade wars are easy to win. Well, I think this is important input from the ground on how these tariffs and the other moves by the administration are affecting real companies, large and small, and trade associations that represent broad sectors.
We've seen this happen before already on different amounts of tariffs. What would it take to see a different outcome from this set of hearings beginning today? Is there anything that these companies can say or do to move the needle the other way?
Well, one thing that could come out of the hearings is that it could help the administration narrow down the number of issues that they're going to be raising with the Chinese. Back in May, the administration presented an 8-point paper, and the issues that were presented were enormous and could potentially take years to negotiate. So by emphasizing the real concerns of industry, perhaps they can highlight what's really important to industry and help the administration reduce that number of issues down to an actionable set of items that can then be negotiated, hopefully, toward resolution.
A couple of big things coming up this week. First, want to get your thoughts on a delegation from Beijing arriving in Washington to discuss the current state of the trade war. As we heard Daniel mention, the Wall Street Journal reporting that it could lead to something happening later this year. Is this a good chance to get face-to-face, between both sides and maybe come up with a solution or move towards some sort of progress in the trade war?
This is the first formal set of negotiations in 2 months, so it's very important for the parties to be talking to each other across the table. Of course, this is at a mid-level. It's not the most senior level, but this is the chance for, as I said, the parties themselves to narrow down the issues and also to perhaps draft some kind of a roadmap for the long term. I think it's very ambitious to assume that things would be resolved by November, but there's an opportunity here to set down an agenda and a working schedule that can get us to some place that would be good for both sides.
So behind the scenes, with you have these meetings taking place at the mid-level, but you also have these hearings taking place. Is there a lot happening back and forth to try to get the information in and out so that they can be productive?
I hope so. I know that a lot is going on in trade in Washington right now. You have a European delegation here, you have a NAFTA delegation here, you have all the activity on China as well. So bandwidth could be a little bit stretched, but I do think that there is very important input that needs to be taken into account. And the companies, this is their unique opportunity to provide that. This $200 billion in tariffs is really unprecedented. What I fear is that we've been talking about $200 billion here or $100 billion there. This talk has lost its shock value. The dimensions here are important and large, and so companies need to reinforce that and the impact.
And quickly, one last thing I want to ask you about. $16 billion worth of tariffs go into effect 3 days from now on the 23rd. Your thoughts on that as this continues to go on and on and on?
That's definitely going to go into effect. I think that's already been decided and it's going to go forward. The question is the $200 billion. Wishfully thinking, we might hope that there might be some pause before the $200 billion go into effect, but that really doesn't seem likely. The president, who is the final decision maker on all of this, really seems to be determined to go forward with it.
All right, Jeff Moon, we'll leave it there. Thank you for your insight. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you.